I heard the cave's lattice doors creaking open. Someone was probably bringing me food. Since I spent nearly the entire day plagued by hauntings, it was rare that I was conscious for when meals arrived. Normally I would just come to, only to find the food already there. That was the living hell that the sacrifice, was subjected to. Meals were the only ordinary part of my life. They probably felt they couldn't afford to let me do anything else in the off chance I fell ill. However, something felt different about the person bringing food this day. I could tell they were holding their breath and treading carefully. Who was it? When I saw him, I gasped.
Mutsu.
Mutsu?
Shh. Shizukani.
You have to be quiet. My legs had withered and atrophied, but I managed to stagger to my feet. Sue dashed over and helped me up.
遅くなって。ごめん。
I'm sorry, I'm late.
いいの。来てくれて。
Oh, thank you. Oh, don't be. Thank you for coming. I buried my face in his chest and quietly wept for a short while. Maybe he was right. Maybe he was too late. There's no way to rid my body of the cursed soot, no way to save me from the world of nightmare. And yet he'd come for me. There were occasions where I awakened from the hauntings. What bliss it was that Mutsu had come to me at such a time.
行こう。交代の見張りがいつ来るかもわからない。
I don't know when the next guard will take watch.
私のために無茶をしてくれたのですね。
I can't believe you did something so reckless for me.
君のためなら大したことじゃないさ。
Nothing's reckless when it's for you.
さあ、行こう。歩ける。
Let's go. Okay, walk.
はい。
Yes. I started walking, Mutsu guiding by my hand. The door of the cave was wide open. I never believed I'd leave there alive. Oh, the sunlight was blinding. Ah! I couldn't keep my eyes open. I could feel the fresh air against my skin. The scent of nature brought back memories.
大丈夫。
Are you alright?
目がくらんで。
I can't see.
かわいそうに。ずっと暗いところにいたから。
You've been in the dark too long.
もう大丈夫です。
Alright now. Once I opened my eyes, a sight from long ago flooded into me. What I found was not the outdoors, but rather a stone room. Huh? Wait. Was I? What? Huh. All my blood went cold at that ear-splitting scream of agony. The room was like a smithy. A naked man was hanging upside down from the ceiling. His face stained in blood. What?
Mutsu?
Mutsu? Huh? Then who was holding my hand? I turned around in horror to discover the man next to me was no longer Mutsu. That uncanny figure was shirtless, muscular, tall, and wearing a hemp cloth around his face. That wasn't Mutsu. That wasn't Mutsu at all. And who? Who was he? Let me go. Let me go. I tried shaking him off, but his grip was like a vice. He grabbed me from behind, leaving me unable to move. He held my jaw in place, preventing me from turning my head. At that moment, I finally comprehended the repulsive sight before my eyes. Mutsu was naked and hanging upside down from the ceiling. His legs were strung wide open. The other man took a saw, approached his exposed... Oh, it's like that one horror movie. Approached his... Approached his... Oh god, I can't... Approached his exposed groin and... Crawled through his pelvis from his thighs upward. The sickening drone of thick pelvic bones being cleaved through like logs echoed throughout the room. Mutsu shrieked with agony, with each sharp crunch of bone. I couldn't look away. The man was keeping a firm grip on my jaw, so I'd be forced to watch. Eventually, Mutsu's pelvis was split perfectly in two, and his thighs spread farther than I believed possible. Oh. Or I guess you can say... It's kind of like... Terrified, I guess, too. Anyway. Even so, Mitsu still wasn't dead. He vomited blood and continued his chilling scream. Another nightmare. I could no longer tell dream from reality. Oh, did that not actually happen? That's horrible. It seemed like I regained consciousness for real this time, but this had to be the start of yet another nightmare. I was sure of it. I couldn't allow myself to hope for Mutsu's arrival ever again. If I did, the evil spirits would just prey on that and continue to show me those sorts of gruesome nightmares. Besides, this was probably the beginning of a new nightmare anyway. I couldn't let my guard down and assume I'd return to reality. In fact, a new nightmare was already beginning. I heard several people approaching. The door creaked open, and 3 of the watchmen appeared. I knew all too well how this particular nightmare went.
Oh, 今日は目を覚ましておるぞ。
Oh no. Oh, she's awake
意
today.
識がある時の方が格段に良いからの。
There's such a world of difference when she's awake for it, huh?
なあ、本当に大丈夫なのか？
Hey, is this really alright?
こんな女、触れただけで呪いがこっちに移ってしまいそうじゃ。
I get the feeling we could catch her curse just by touching her.
その心配はない。安心せえ。気もっための小さいやつじゃ。
Relax. That won't happen. Throw a pair. They surrounded me with vulgar smiles. It was that same nightmare again.
生贄は短命。何年も生きられんのじゃ。
The sacrifice doesn't have long to live, they say.
だから死ぬ前に赤子にすすを引き継がねばならぬからな。
So she needs to pass the sit on to her child before she dies.
見張り番の約束じゃ。
Being a watchman sure has its perks. Oh, they're not showing anything. Yes, this had to be the same nightmare. So long as I hardened my heart, I wake up from it eventually. The stench of the men's sweat and rotten breath tormented me. Autumn arrived. Autumn arrived. With it came a modest harvest, and the village finally obtained hope of escaping the phantom. By this point, some villagers had even forgotten all about the cursed soot that had rained upon their village. But the mayor and the elders were convinced of the undeniable existence of Rokugami Hiko no Mikoto's curse. It only had a single day to prepare for the sacrifice ritual. Because of that, they focused on gathering the soot where it lay thickest and to fail to remove it from several places. Those locations underwent visible change. According to ancient writings, it was said that the Akebia vines laughed that first autumn. A village girl who had gone to the forest on the outskirts of the village to reap for the autumn harvest discovered a clump of Akebia vines. The writings claimed that when she reached for the vines, they all laughed at the same time. Furthermore, they went on to say that one of them bit off part of the girl's left earlobe. Yet another writing mentioned bats who could speak in human tongues settling on the mountain. They threw slander at the children playing in the mountains and led them astray with familiar whispers. Late at night, they would come to the village and disrupt the villagers' slumber with their voices. These depictions were too fantastical to be anything but figurative. Yet, Hinagata believed that the literal monsters had truly arisen. The cursed soot robbed one of their spiritual defenses. Put simply, it made them easy targets for evil spirits. It was likely the plants and animals born in the areas where soot remained had been possessed by such spirits and became monsters. Afterwards, the forest they lived in was burned to the ground and all the monsters were exterminated. However, with that, the villagers understood exactly what the soot's curse was. They learned that if the sacrifice died and the seal was broken, then the soot would unleash an abomination beyond their wildest dreams on the town. Susanome withered away day after day. There were many days where she never woke up or ate at all. She starved to death and the seal would be broken. Thus, she had to have a child and passed on the curse before that. At this point, Susanome was already with child. Nobody cared who the father was. Then winter came, followed by spring. Susanome gave birth to a baby girl. And then immediately afterwards, Susanome passed away. Almost as though her newborn daughter had absorbed both her curse and her life. Her labor was difficult to the bitter end. Her body was subjected to every sort of agony possible. Upon her death, her face was warped with anguish like a hideous demon's. Her daughter was adorable, the very spin image of her mother, so much so that her wet nurse doubted she was truly cursed. But once she turned 7, her hauntings began. She lost herself and wasted away, all trace of her former loveliness but a memory. Like her mother, the girl's treatment changed to that of befitting of a cursed sacrifice, and once she came of age, the men of the village used her as their plaything. She was impregnated so the curse could be passed on, and as soon as she had her baby, she passed away. Strangely enough, the child was always a girl, and she would always grow up to be a spitting image of Susanoo. Writings by the Kurokami's ancestors suggested that Susanoo, the first sacrifice, was reincarnated into the child of each following generation. If that were indeed the truth, it was a fate far too cruel. She would blossom until she came of age, was violated, forced to suffer agony unimaginable in labor, until she finally birthed her daughter and died. That was her internal curse. That was her living hell from which she had no escape. Though the ancestors of the Kurokamis did it to protect the village from the curse, the black arts they resorted to were horrifying. However, once fate's gears were in motion, they could not be stopped. In order to keep the soot from covering the land, Susanoo and her descendants had to endure an eternal hell of endless suffering. Around the early 17th century or so, the sacrifice's conditions suddenly changed. Something about her was clearly wrong compared to all the other depicted in the Kurokami's records. She would grip her swollen stomach as she foamed from the mouth, begging someone to kill her.
腹の中で巨大な石がゴロゴロと転がり続ける痛みなど聞いたことがありません。
Never before have I heard of a pain like a boulder rolling around in one's stomach.
おそらく人の病気ではありますまい。
There is likely no human ailment.
このあざの黒さはまさにすすの色。
Bruises are as black as soot.
恐ろしや。六神彦の御事の呪いは時代を経てますますに強くなっているというのか。
Can't be. Does that mean Rokugami Hiko no Mikoto's curse has been growing stronger throughout the ages? The hauntings had gone out of control, and there were ominous soot-colored bruises swollen across the girl's abdomen. The two men looked into the tomb of black arts that had been stolen from Susanoo when she was sacrificed. When they did, they hypothesized that the soot had grown with each generation, now was about to reach its limit. If this kept up, the soot would grow too powerful for the sacrifice to bear and would burst out of her. The girl was facing hellish anguish from the swollen soot, seeking to explode out of her. It hurts. Kill me. Ugh.
それはできぬ。
What? The girl desperately sought release from her living hell, but the families had coldly denied her that
そ
mercy.
の腹の子を産み、呪いを引き継ぐのがお前の役目。
Role is to pass the curse on to that child in your womb.
出産まであと2月。耐えるのだ。そうすれば、お前も母たちのもとで安らかに暮らせるぞ。
Birth is just 2 more months away. Endure it. Once you do, you may join your mothers in peace. Once you have your child, you'll be released from your suffering. Those were the words each family had said to each sacrifice every generation. Of course, they all knew just how agonizing her end would be.
古文書で過去の生贄たちの様子を見る限り、
Judging from the state of the previous sacrifices as per these records,
呪いのすすは世代を重ねるごとに増えるのでしょうな。
the cursed soot appears to have been growing in sacrifice with each successive generation.
このまま赤子を産んでも、今以上のすすを引き継ぐことになるわけか。
So if she had her child, it's far stronger.
こやつとて、子を産める年まで持たせるのにどれほど苦労したか。
This girl has already suffered unimaginable pain.
下手をすれば、次の子は子を産む前に死んでしまうやもしれん。
In the worst case scenario, her daughter may die before she can bear the next child at all.
そのようなことがあれば、この地に大いなる災いが起こる。それだけは許されぬのだ。
If she dies, the land will be faced with a calamity more infernal. Cannot allow that. You know what? Honestly, I think I think it needs to happen. Pay the price. It hurts. It hurts. Save me, Moo. Moo. That's weird.
見つけたぞ。これならなんとかなるかもしれぬ。
I found it. This may work. The curse wasn't the only thing the Kurokami family had inherited over the centuries. There was also the Black Arts tome taken from Suzunomi. In it, the head discovered a certain spell.
汚れた赤子を身ごもったとき、その汚れを薄めることができる術だ。
With this spell, we can ease the effects of the curse on the unborn child.
腹の中の胎児を増やし、それぞれに汚れを分けることで薄めることができるという。
The spell will create more fetuses in the womb and spread the corruption amongst them, thus weakening the curse.
なんと、つまり双子を産ませる術というわけですか。
My goodness, so it's a spell that produces twins?
生贄の数を増やすことになるが、背を腹には変えられぬ。
Increase the number of sacrifices. That's a price we'll have to pay.
この術で、こやつの腹の中の子を増やしてすすを分け薄めるのだ。
This her womb filled with more children. The soot will disperse amongst them, diminishing the overall concentration. No one knew for what purpose the spell had originally been created. Perhaps those who had devised the soot sealing ritual had foreseen an outcome like this, and thus came up with a countermeasure. This spell made a mockery of life, and yet the head didn't hesitate to use it. He waited until the girl reached her final month of pregnancy. Then he placed her on an altar surrounded by eerie candles. Once he was ready, he recited the ancient cursed words.
双子などと生ぬるいことは言わぬ。
Twins? How short-sighted.
三つ子でも四つ子でも構わぬぞ。多ければ多いほどすすは薄まるのだからな。
I don't care if it's triplets or even quadruplets. The more there are, the lesser the soot.
増えよ、増えよ。そして呪いのすすを分け合うがいい。
May your womb fill with children. Let the soot, the cursed soot, be split amongst them. The girl's swollen stomach distorted from the inside like a bubbling cauldron, almost like a monster were trying to eat its way out of her. The unfettering pain was too much for the girl to bear, and she finally passed out, foaming at the mouth. The family had continued reciting the cursed words. At that moment, there was a splash of blood, followed by cries of babies. The heads of several babies burst out of their mother's abdomen. Suffering from agony untold in any era, the girl convulsed and passed away.
やったではないか。
Haha, yes, I did it. 1, 2, 3. Oh, what fortune.
五つ子ではないか。
There are 5 of them! The internal hell would never end. She would be kept alive in it until the end of time, all in order to keep the curse sealed. But she accepted her fate, for her eternal suffering meant preventing a calamity. She believed by doing so, she was protecting the happiness of many. Look at that.
近代に入ってから黒髪家で火事があって、その
Not,
際に秘術を
not
記
too
した
far
書
back, there was a
物
fire at the
消失
Kurokami
したそうよ。
home. I hear the tome of Black Arts was lost then. Though the curse was sealed, it was also the cause of the sacrifice's ever-growing suffering. For some reason, Suzumu felt like the loss of that tome had been another form of divine punishment, albeit mild and belated.
ということは、もう五つ子の邪法は使えないということ。
Which means the quintuplet spell can't be used again.
呪いのすすは世代を重ねるごとに増え続ける。つまり、やがてもう一度破綻を迎えるというこ
The
と。
cursed soot festers with each generation, so eventually the spell will be unable to contain it once
そ
more.
して、その破綻の時はもう遠くないかもしれないの。
And that time may not be too far off.
トエちゃんはお腹の中に大きな石がいくつも転がるような違和感を覚えると言っている。
Toei has mentioned feeling like multiple boulders are rolling in her stomach.
それはまさか。
おそらくは破綻の兆し。
It may be a sign that the spell is all but broken.
五つ子の邪法が失われた以上、もう生贄からすすを減らす術は存在しない。
And now that the quintuplet spell has been lost, there is no longer any way to mitigate the soot within the
できること
sacrifice.
はすすをこれ以上一粒たりとも増やさぬことだけ。
All they can do is try to prevent any more soot from gathering.
黒髪家は考えたの。ひょっとしたら父親からすすを取り込んでいるのではないか。
The Kurokamis have a theory that the additional soot is taken in from the father,
それで言い名付けを。
and that's why they need a fiancé?
察しがいいわね。そういうこと。
You catch on quick. Yes, that's right.
トエちゃんには相手の持つすすが見えるらしいの。
Seems Toei can see what soot others carry within them. I finally understood why Toei was engaged. She had been looking for someone without any soot in order to keep the soot within her from growing. And finally, she found that someone, Sho Aminuma. The soot within her was already reaching its limit. So she needed a fiancé without even a single speck of it. Virtually everyone was born with a speck or two of soot in them. Someone completely free of that was like 1 in a million.
亀沼くんの素行は黒髪家がよく知ってるわ。
So the love at first sight, you know. The Kurokamis are fully aware of what kind of person Kaminuma is.
でも他に代わりがいないの。
They don't have any other options.
知ってて目をつむるほかはない。
All they can do is let it slide. She didn't even have their freedom to love who she wanted. She was kept alive only to marry a man she didn't love so she could pass the curse she carried within down to her child and able to bask in the joys of adolescence.
戦後からは人権意識の高まりもあり、黒髪家の歴代当主はかなり良識的になったわ。
Generally speaking, public awareness of human rights rose after the war. As a result, the subsequent heads of the Kurokami family have been much kinder.
生贄ではなく娘として扱うようになった。
They treat their children not as sacrifices, but as
トエ
daughters.
ちゃんにもせめて人並みの人生を感じてもらえるよう学校にも行かせてる。
Toei's father let her go to school because he wanted her to experience normal
早
life.
ければ20歳を迎える前には出産しなければならないもの。
Though, although she needs to have a child before she turns 20 by the
ほとん
earliest.
どのケースで出産時に生贄は死亡する。
In most cases, the sacrifice died in
彼
childbirth.
女の命はあと数年もないのよ。
She only has a few more years left to live.
でもそれで苦しみが終わるわけじゃない。
That won't mean the end of the suffering.
また新しい命に新しい苦しみが始まる。
They'll just start all over again with that new life.
そうね。
That's right.
トエちゃんは1000年間もずっと苦しみ続けているのかもしれない。
Why you may have been suffering for the last 1,000 years.
初めは自分の霊障の正体を探るための研究だった。
At first, I began to research to discover what my hauntings truly were.
でも今はトエちゃんを救ってあげられないかという気持ちが一番なの。
But now, what I want more than anything is to save Toei.
六神彦の御の呪いをなんとか終わらせたい。
I wish to find a way to put an end to Rokugami Hiko no curse.
彼女と彼女たちはもう1000年も苦しんだわ。もういい加減六神様も許してくれてもいいんじゃないかしら。
They've already suffered for 1,000 years. I wonder if there's no way for the dear God to forgive them.
神様の気持ちを考えるときっと複雑だと思います。だって神様は黒髪さんたちを呪いたかったわけじゃない。
It wasn't like Rokugami Hiko no Mikoto wanted to curse Kurokami.
でもどうやったら許してくれるのか
But as how they could be forgiven.
僕には想像もつきません。
Can't think of anything.
私もよ。
I'm here.
でもいくら神様でもトエちゃんをこれ以上苦しめていい理由なんてないと思うわ。
But I don't care who's doing it. There's no reason Toei should have to suffer any longer.
そうね。これは怒りだわ。
That's right. That's what makes me so angry.
理不尽な呪いでトエちゃんたちを代々苦しめてきた六神彦の御への私の怒り。
Rokugami Hiko no Mikoto should never have forced Toei and all those before her to suffer with this unjust curse.
私だって若い時は霊障ですっごい苦しめられたんだから。もう二度とあんなのはごめんよ。
I don't know how hard it is. When I was young, my hauntings were devastating. I don't want to go through that ever again.
見つけたいです。呪いを 解く方法。
I want to find a way to break the curse.
先生には知識がある。そして僕には力がある。
Have your knowledge and my power.
僕も先生とは違った角度からきっとそれを見つける手伝いができると思います。
I think I can help you find it from another angle. I didn't know how, but I believed if I continued training, I could pass some sort of threshold. I could obtain my own power.
今日はこんな時間まで付き合ってくれてありがと
Thank you for sticking around with me for so
う。
long.
長い話を延々と聞かされて疲れちゃったでしょ。
You must be tired from all this chatting, right? Yeah, a little bit.
本音はまだちょっと呆然としてます。
Honestly, I'm still a little surprised.
そうよね。
I bet.
先生、ちょっとお腹が空いちゃった。あんみつでも食べていかない？
I'm kind of hungry. Want to grab a bite with me?
いえ、もうちょっと神社を散策したい気持ちです。
No, thank you. I'd actually like to explore the shrine a little bit more.
わかったわ。
Okay, gotcha.
では失礼します。
And if you'll excuse me,
また学校でシャチ運ぶでね。
you at school. I said goodbye to Miss Hinagata and returned to the shrine grounds. Of course, it's true that I was stunned by such an outlandish story. But apart from that, I felt like I'd gone on a 1,000-year-long trip for some reason. Like I just left the theater after watching a long, long movie. I wanted to be alone so I could get my feelings sorted out. I felt like I was still in the movie. Everyone's had times where they've empathized too much and felt like they'd become the protagonist. Yet even after returning to reality, I still felt that way. In fact, I felt more like I'd finally remembered something I'd forgotten for so many years. It was a strange feeling, one I never experienced before, and I just couldn't get rid of it. How long is this arc? Good God. Okay, I returned to the Dawn Memorial Hall. Though the main shrine was constantly full of people, this place was always desolate. It felt as though this place was far removed from reality. I think I went there because I didn't want to go back to reality until I sorted out my feelings. Or maybe I was guided there. She was waiting in front of the Dawn Memorial Hall. Hello, Toei.
すず。
I tried to say Kurokami, but my mouth said Suzu instead. Who was Suzu? Was I mixing her up with someone with a similar name? I didn't know anyone called that. She smiled dryly when she saw me. Even I was taken back.
1000年遅い。
You're 1,000 years too late.
のこのこと今頃来たかムツ。
You have quite the gall to show up after all this time, Mutsu. I didn't understand what Kurokami was saying, but though her words were venomous, she also seemed a little happy too.
僕が必ず君を救うから。
I swear, I'll save you.
理由はわからないけれど、それが僕の使命なんだ。
I don't know why, but it's my duty.
1000年遅い。
1,000 years too.
盆栽に拳を砕いて泣き寝入りしたお前に今さら何ができる？
What can you possibly do? You, who gave up after breaking his fist on a bell.
だがそれを笑う気はない。
No, I do not intend to mock you.
1000年を経てようやく我が呪いは完全に熟した。
My curse is finally ripe after
その最後にすすの村の血を最も強く受け継ぐお前がこうして現れるのはまるで運命かのよう。
It must be fate that one who inherited the blood of that village of soot should show up now at the very end.
お前のすすをもらう。
I shall take it.
そして持てる力のすべてを出し尽くしてこの地に災いをもたらすのだ。
This does not fit with this music. It kind of makes it a little silly. And then I shall call forth all my power to bring calamity to this land.
君が六神様なのか？
You, your god?
わかるのか、陸奥の末裔よ。
So you can see who I descended of Mutsu.
君が呪いたいほどの辛い思いをしてきたことを僕は否定しない。
I won't deny the suffering brought forth your desire to curse everyone.
でも
However,
それは黒髪さんに向けるべきものでもない。
Rokugami doesn't deserve to take the blame for it.
承知している。この娘には我も同情を禁じ得ない。
I'm aware. I cannot help but sympathize with this girl.
だからこそこの最後の時に
Precisely why now? It's past.
この娘の悲願を叶えてやりたいと思う。
I want to grant, dear,
お
the
前
dearest
に
wish
抱かれながらその役割を終えさせてやるのだ。
for you. As her role is brought to an end.
それが黒髪さんの願いならば僕も叶えたい。
Rokugami, then I'll fulfill that wish.
でも
However,
黒髪さんは少なくともまだ
I know that right now, at the very least,
まだそれを望んではいないんだ。
not what you want.
なぜお前にそれがわかる？
Then how do you?
彼女
I
は
just know.
それでも僕を拒絶したんだ。
Otherwise, she wouldn't have pushed me away. I was a descendant of the cursed village of though minuscule compared to the descendants of the sacrifice, I should have been much more soot. But I should have had much more soot in me than the average person. That was why Kurokami had called me corrupted, and why she couldn't afford to be with me.
僕との再会が彼女の悲願だったとしても
Even if her greatest wish was to see me again,
彼女は1000年をかけてこの地を守ってきた責任を
she still didn't
まだ
want
手
to
放したくは
abandon her
ないんだ。
responsibility of protecting this land.
もちろん彼女にはいつだってそれを手放す権利があると思う。
Of course, I believe she has the right to abandon that duty whenever she wants.
彼女が強いられた理不尽な運命を彼女はいつだって返上していい。
She can relinquish, good God, that unfair fate she was forced into at any time.
でもそれは彼女が決めることで
But that's for her to decide,
それを決めるのは僕でもなければ
not me
君でもない。
or you.
この1000年さまざまな輩を見てきたが
I have seen so many characters. I've seen many a character these 1,000 years.
お前はやはり特別だ。我が運命の歯車に噛み合うだけの資格がある。
You truly are special. You are worthy to number among the gears of my...
君にはこの地を呪うにふさわしい正当な権利があるに違いない。
You have every right to curse this land.
だけれど
However,
彼女の気持ちを無視していい権利なんかないんだ。
you don't have the right to disregard her feelings.
不思議な男よ。
You are a bizarre man.
お前は我の1000年の悲願の見届け人として使わされた天の使いに違いない。
You must be a messenger of heaven, sent to bear witness to the fulfillment of my 1,000-year wish.
どのような運命がお前をここへ導いたかは知らぬが
I know not what twist of fate guided you here.
人の子ごときにもはや覆せる運命ではない。
But no child of man hoped to overturn her destiny. I felt a whirlwind. Fallen leaves swirled around her feet, giving her a menacing aura. Next, antlers befitting a deer god slowly sprouted over her head. I recognized her. This was the image that had come to my mind the whole time I was listening to Miss Hinagata's story.
我は六神彦の御事の呪いなり
I am the of her.
1000年の眠りより目覚め今こそこの地に災いをもたらさん。
I have awakened 1,000 years slumber, and now I shall bring calamity on this land.
まだだ。
Not yet.
それは彼女が決める。
That's for her to decide.
鈴の目の役目はすでに終わった。
Suzunomi's role has already ended.
終わってない。終わらせない。
It's not over yet. I won't let it end.
そうでなかったら
Otherwise.
彼女の1000年の苦しみと悲しみが何の意味も持たなくなる。
1,000 years of sorrow and agony will have all been for nothing. Though she had been treated like a prisoner, she'd always had one avenue of escape. She had never chosen death. She could have rejected her food or bit off her tongue. But no matter how hellish her life was, she denied death at every turn. It couldn't have been easy. Over the last 1,000 years, the temptation of dying, of being released from her suffering, should have come to her countless times. A millennium of nightmares offered many opportunities for that. Perhaps she was resisting the urge to put an end to it, all even at this very
それを
moment.
耐えて生きてきた1000年間を
She endured all that and kept living for 1,000 years.
どう決着するか。それは彼女にだけ許された彼女だけの権利だ。
Therefore, only she has the right to decide how this ends.
それをお前が奪ったら彼女の1000年には何も残らない。
You
何の
take
意
that
味
from
も
her,
ない。
there'll be nothing left of those 1,000 years. It'll all been gone to waste. Uh-oh.
さえずるな、人の米。
Do not preach to me, accursed child of man. Her eyes glowed scarlet. At that moment, the countless dolls lining the hall collapsed one after another like dominoes. Every cell in my body was overwhelmed by invisible force.
時は満ちたのだ、小僧。
The time has come, boy.
お前はただこの娘の1000年をねぎらうためだけに使わされたに過ぎぬ。
You're brought here only as a reward for 1,000 years of service.
さえずらず、ただひれ伏して我が運命を受け入れよ。
Now cease your prattling, prostrate yourself before me, and play part in my destiny.
君の運命じゃない。
No, it's not your destiny.
僕と君があることが運命ならばそれは彼女が決める運命に従う歯車に過ぎない。
If there is any destiny that brought the two of us here, it's hers. As such, the decision falls on her
決めるの
shoulders.
は彼女だ。僕はそれを守るためにここにある。
She'll decide this for herself. I'm here to defend her right to do that.
何の真似か。
What are you scheming? Oh god. I lowered my hips and readied my fist. My fist was to be dedicated to God. I was faced with a god, and the catastrophe that should be prevented. There's no better time than that. I had trained myself in this fist for as long as I could remember. It was all for this very moment.
お前の意志の強さを拳に宿しているのだろうとは思う。
You seem to believe the strength of your will dwells in that fist.
だが、それ以上の何かも、それ以下の何かも感じぬ。
But that's all you have. I hate to admit it, but she was right. I had the desire to risk fate, but that was it. All I had was a flesh and blood fist. It wasn't glowing with some miraculous power that dwelt within.
だが、お前の奉納を受けよう。
But I accept your offering.
1000年を経て木が熟したこの時に、陸奥の末裔がここにある。
Mutsu's descendant is here on the eve of my awakening after 1,000 years.
お前には報じる資格がある。いいだろう、陸奥。
You have the right to present me an offering, so be it, Mutsu.
この娘のための義憤を拳に込め、存分に我に打ちかかるがよい。
Fill your fists with your righteous indignation, for this girl's a lot. Oh, for this girl's lot, and strike me as you will. This is like Danganronpa music.
無駄を知ることになろう。だが、それでよい。
You shall learn a futa. But that is well.
人の子は無駄を思い知ることなくして死すことを心残りと呼ぶ。
Children of men refer to the act of dying without realizing they're dying with regret.
お前にそれをさせたくはない。
I would not wish that upon you. No, you're wrong! Every drop of sweat and blood during training was all for this. I put everything I've accumulated over these years into my fist. If it was fated 1,000 years ago that I would be here today, and I asked fate to endow my fist with a miracle to match. I clenched my fist so hard it almost broke. You gonna punch her?
検証弱を打ち破りて正しきを示す
Ashe Kensho, crush evil and demonstrate the righteous path.
ススハラ流親善武術ススハラスズメ
I am Suzumu Suzahara, practitioner of the Suzahara divine tribute style.
いざ
Now!
Shikato, 受け取ったぞ。
Done.
お前の炎を。
Received your offer. Of this, I am certain. Oh, gosh. Izumu's face warped with agony as he fell on one knee. He had certainly punched the god in the abdomen. But his fist had broken. Blood gushed out of his torn skin. The god's body has been too rigid and cold, like it was made of metal, specifically bronze. Crimson pearls dripped to the ground and scattered at his feet like red flowers.
哀れな男よ。お前の千年はもう一度無力さを思い出すためのものだったというのか。
So this is the end of your 1,000-year journey. A painful reminder of your powerlessness.
そんな
It can't be.
しかとお前の奉納を受け取ったぞ。
Received your offering.
なぜ涙を流す？もう泣く必要はない。
Why do you shed tears? You need not weep any longer.
お前たちはこれより添い遂げる。
For now, you two can be together.
我が運命の中で1000年ぶりの再会を噛みしめ合うがよい。
Savor? My throat. Savor your 1,000-year reunion together between the grinding gears of my fate. Blush. She spread her hands and gently wrapped them around Suzumu's head, almost like she was comforting a wailing infant. Suzumu's tears were not of pain, merely anger at his own powerlessness, for all of his efforts had done nothing to save her. So he lamented his failure. However, those feelings slowly drifted off into the void, and the god's gentle embrace, warm as a blanket, all of his regrets melted away. Before long, Suzumu's consciousness faded away as though drifting off to sleep. By the time she spread open her hands, Suzumu had vanished into nothingness. Before long, all lingering affection faded from her face, giving way to all an expression truly suitable for a curse.
人鬼どもよ、刮目するがよい。我は六神彦の御事の呪いなり。
Behold your fate, man demons. I am the curse of Rokugami Hiko no Mikoto.
今こそこの地は報いを受ける時。
Today, this
神の
land...
怒りに震えながらひれ伏すがよい。
Today, this land shall suffer its divine retribution. Prostrate yourselves and tremble before the wrath of a god. Those are the shrine's grounds. Could see her rising in the sky. The divine curse looked down from on high and sneered violently.
今こそ神の復讐の時。
This shall mark the hour of heavenly vengeance. Black clouds filled the air and blotted out the sky as though she were willing them to. The townsfolk could only stop and gape in astonishment. They all saw something black falling from the sky. Uh-oh. Was it snow? Feathers? No, it was judgment. It's raining judgment. The asphalt, concrete, tiles, and floors were stained black in the blink of an eye. There was a flash of scarlet, and a moment later, flames taller than skyscrapers erupted forth. Dragons of fire sprouted out over town, one after another. The flames licked the streets as though they had the mind of their own, and engulfed them all in succession. Swallowed by the hellfire, the townsfolk writhed about as they succumbed to their agony. Yet the cursed flames would not allow them to die until they'd been scorched to charcoal. The townsfolk suffered the fires of hell until they were no longer recognizable as humans. The high-rise buildings were devoured by fire, one after the next. People scrambled to leap from their windows, though few made it that far. Screams mixed with the howl of the scorching winds like the roar of the sea. The manifestation of the curse listened with a faint smile, but before long she cast down her eyes and shook her head slightly. This disaster wrenched your heart too? That is not enough.
この程度の災いではまるで足らぬ。
A calamity like this is hard enough.
兄上様の嘆きを慰むにはまるで足らぬ足らぬ足らぬ足らぬ。
This is hardly enough to ease brother's lament. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough.
もっとすすを集めねば。
I must gather more and more soot.
もっともっとすすを集め、もっともっと壮絶なる災いを。
I must gather more soot and bring out a far greater calamity.
兄上様に捧げるにふさわしき災いを。
I must deliver unto brother a scourge more befitting of our sorrow. Even after the sun had set, the flames of the divine curse blazed fiercely as ever. The likes of the children of men were powerless to it. All they could do was wait for the wrath of the divine to subside, just like in the day of yore. The two looked down upon that scene from a rift in the clouds. They had no bodies, but they could feel each other's warmth, signaling that they were together. Since they had no bodies, they had no mouths, and therefore could not speak. However, they could exchange feelings. Both of them were happy to be reunited after 1,000 years, of course. But the heartbreak they felt at the scene before then far outweighed that. She had fought for 1,000 years to keep this hell from breaking loose, and yet this conclusion spat in the face of her struggle. Unable to bask in their joy, the pair could do nothing but silently behold the hell unfolding below them. He was bitter. Suzumu's heart gradually filled with frustration. He hated himself for being too weak to prevent this conclusion that saddened her so. Don't worry about it, she whispered. 1,000 years. Good enough for me. But Suzumu couldn't accept it. No, he didn't want to accept it. He absolutely didn't want to acknowledge this end as their salvation. But their time was up. Their emotions gradually melted into a warm slumber. Farewell, Mutsu, Yuzahara. May we meet again in another life. Dang. I get a bad ending? I can't. There's no way I can accept this. Oh god. I thought this was... Mutsu punched a rock showered by the waterfall. His face was damp with tears and splashes of water. After he was exiled, Mutsu tried again to save Susanome. But the villagers standing guard discovered him wounded him so badly he'd only barely escaped with his life. And after 3 days, the curse was sealed into Susanomi's body. With that, merely saving her was pointless. He had to find a way to break the curse sealed within her. Afterwards, he had taken the guise of a traveling monk and traversed the land, looking to spells and hidden arts. As what he sought to break was a black art, he had been unable to acquire any information at all. The more he investigated, the deeper his despair grew. And one day in his travels, he had learned that Susanome had already passed away. Curse this fist! Curse this forsaken fist!
あの時もっともっと拳だけでなく腕もいやこの身もろとも粉々になるほどの覚悟があっただろ
If only I had a resolve powerful enough to render my arm, no, my whole body asunder.
あの金を奇跡だって起こせたかもしれないのに
Then perhaps I could have brought about the miracle of breaking that bell.
なぜあの最初で最後の唯一の機会に奇跡を起こせなかったのか
Why? It was the only chance I had. Why couldn't I bring forth the miracle? Mutsu had lunged with his fist in the moment Susanome was being sealed in the bell. Back then, he merely punched as emotions had driven him. But the more time passed, the more Mutsu became bitterly aware they had lost his only chance. A human fist couldn't possibly break through a temple bell. However, he had managed to bring about a miracle. He could have saved her. Mutsu wept as he punched the cliff behind the waterfall over and over again. I want a miracle, even if it means sacrificing my own body. Please grant me a miracle to save her. Just then, Mutsu heard a voice from the heavens. Your lament has reached my ears. Oh. I am Rokugami Hiko no Mikoto. It was young and imposed male voice. Mutsu looked to the heavens, ignoring the waterfalls pouring on him, and prostrated himself. Freaking word. What is it you desire? I beseech you, bestow upon me a miracle that could break that bell. Certainly, a child of man's fist has no hope of breaking through a temple bell. Then lend me your ears, child of man, Mutsu.
その拳を何者にも負けぬよう強く気高く鍛錬し我に報じよ
From this day onward, temper that fist so may be stronger and more sublime than any other, and dedicated unto me.
それを積み重ね子に引き継ぎ我に報じ続けよ
Train every day, pass your teachings down to your children, have them dedicate their training to me.
千年を重ねしとき
Once 1,000 years have passed,
そなたの千年後の末裔はその拳に奇跡を宿すであろう
your descendant of that era will have the miracle you seek and down that fist. That's too hard. 1,000 years? A child of man could do nothing against a god's curse. That was why they had no choice but to rely on such black arts. But even so... 1,000 years? Only 1,000 years? You have filled my soul with joy. I, Mutsu, swear to devote myself to you for the next 1,000 years. And I swear the suit of divine wrath will be swept away by one who inherits my blood. So does his kid, does he always have a boy? Like the opposite? The founding of the Suzahara divine tribute style dates back a millennium. It was said the founder was a traveling monk and a mountain priest. As he was training under a waterfall, he received a divine revelation to dedicate his tempered fist to God. That fist is not for fighting. It is to be dedicated to God. It preaches respecting the laws of honor, revering God and one's ancestors, and other spiritual practices. That fist and that mentality was passed on through the generations, and thus 6 or so centuries passed. Mutsu and Suzanomi's names were forgotten, as was the name of the god that fist was dedicated to. But Mutsu's descendants continued devoting themselves to honing their minds and fists, and so another 4 centuries passed. Bring us to the present. The Suzahara divine tribute style has been passed down to this day. Its current instructor is Gentaro Suzahara. He is the 60th instructor since its founding. His son, Suzumu, has been undergoing intense training since he was a boy, intending to become the 61st instructor. But all this is true that would make him this the oldest style of martial arts in Japanese history. The Suzahara divine tribute style in its 1,000-year history has been entrusted to young Suzumu and will likely keep surviving far into the future. Furthermore, every New Year's you can see it being practiced publicly on the bell of a temple close to the dojo. This New Year's, Suzumu has sworn to become the art's 1,000-year successor and punch the bell for the first time. Local community magazine. Are we gonna do it? You're gonna make a fool of yourself. I punched the tree trunk with all my might. But this wouldn't be enough. I'd never attain it like this. Attain what? I didn't know. But I knew I had to attain it. This fist has been honed over 1,000 years. If I bore the thoughts and feelings imbued into it from back then I couldn't be satisfied with how weak it was now. The fist has been passed down for me from its founder over a millennium. Gotta charge. Yeah. Ah! Here we go. Ah. The StudioNekoyama divine tribute style had been tempered over that time with each generation, and I was its 1,000-year successor. And I had to attain the peak that such a weighty history represented.
覇者検証邪悪を打ち破りて正しきを示す
Anja Kensho, crush evil, and demonstrate the righteous path. I recited those words and readied myself before I punched. But I still didn't understand. Was I punching to crush evil? Or to demonstrate the righteous path? I didn't even tell that much.
Suzumu, 麦茶入れたけど飲む?
Suzumu, would you like some tea?
ありがとうもらうよ
Thank you, I'd love some.
これ読んだよ。すごいね。1000年の歴史があるんだね。
I read this. 1,000 years of history? That's amazing. It's really, really unbelievable.
スズムも簡単にお寺の鐘をパンチしたんだ。ゴーンって
So you punched a bell on New Year's? Like, ding dong.
ゴツって感じかなすごく痛いよ
More like wham. It really hurt, haha.
でも、なんでお寺の鐘をパンチするの?
Well, why do you do that?
カイソがお寺の鐘を打って修行をしたと伝えられてるんだ
We're told the founder trained by punching a temple bell.
カイソが絶命するときその鐘が割れたんだって
And at the end of his life, he finally managed to break it.
以来ススハラ流では梵鐘を割れて初めて神域に達することができると言われてる
Ever since then, it's been said of the StudioNekoyama divine tribute style that once you break a temple bell, you pass on to the realm of gods.
それを試すために毎年
I'm so
お寺の鐘を打つようになったのが
Do we
始
get
まりだっ
another
て聞いた
reset?
よ
Chapter didn't end though. Anyway, I heard the whole reason they started punching a temple bell each year was in order to achieve that.
それ、お寺の人に知られたら、もう二度と鐘を打たせてくれなくなるね。
If the temple people found out, they probably wouldn't let you do that ever again, huh?
それもそうだね
You're probably right.
でもお寺の人には悪いけれど
I do feel bad for the people there, but
僕は必ず
I swear
割ってみせる
I will break. Ah! We did it. So we're gonna skip ahead. Got a trophy. Okay. Oh, I guess we can... Yeah, we can stop here. Yeah. So it turns out there's a little more left of this arc. We're just gonna go ahead and finish it. I apologize if I sound weird. I had bronchitis. So I haven't been able to stream. But I'm gonna quickly do this. I think I can handle it. The sounds of the sports club practicing in the schoolyard after school reached the infirmary. Yet the sound was rendered near melancholic in the near empty school. Suzumu and Hinagata were in the infirmary together.
どうすればみんなを救えるんでしょう
How do we save them all?
呪いのすすを打ち破るほかはないわ。
Our only choice is to destroy the cursed soot.
そして、それはおそらくすすはらくんにしかできないわ。
And you're probably the only one who can do that. With your special hand. Yesterday, Suzumu and Hinagata had used their Sunday to meet up with Suzumu's father. They'd gone to learn about the roots of the StudioNekoyama divine tribute style. But more than anything, they wanted to see his power. And to see him punch trees. It went without saying, both Mr. StudioNekoyama being the current master of the StudioNekoyama divine tribute style, he would be far better versed in it than Suzumu, logically speaking. Makes sense. Thus, they were hoping he had the power to destroy hauntings, stronger than Suzumu's anyway. Hinagata was also descendant of the sacrifice to the cursed soot. She would be able to tell if he possessed such power. But unfortunately, it seemed Mr. Suzahara no longer had it.
人は加齢によって霊的防御力が上がるの。でもそれは言い換えると、
People's spiritual defenses increase with age.
人は若さを失うと霊的なチャンネルがずれてくるとも言えるの。
But put another way, you can say one's spiritual channels fall out of sync the older they get. It's easy for those channels to sync up with spirits during adolescence, which is why even average people can be prone to hauntings. But those channels gradually tune out as the years pass. Perhaps it could be likened to hearing. People stop hearing spirits' voices the older they get.
ススハラ君のお父さんはきっと若かった頃には素晴らしい力を持っていたと思うわ。
I believe your father must possess an amazing power when he was your age.
でも今はも
But by this point,
お父さんに助けてもらえばあっさり解決ってほど甘くはなかったわね。
this would be over in a jiffy if your father got out. Reality isn't so convenient. He is not main character.
その代わり
Oh, he can't do
今
shit.
のススハラ君は霊的な意味で言えばまさに脂の乗ったお年頃というわけでもあるわね。
On the plus side, you're at the perfect age right now. Spiritually, anyway.
う僕にしかできない。
Only I could do it.
ええ、あなたが呪いのすすを払える唯一の希望よ。
Yes, you're our only hope of wiping out the cursed soot.
霊障を和らげられる人間の存在など私の知る限りの古文書には一度も登場しない。
In all the ancient documents I read, there wasn't a single person who could ease the haunting.
あなたは紛れもなく六神彦の命の呪いが始まってから1000年来のイレギュラー。
You are, without a doubt, an anomaly in the 1,000 years since Rokugami Hiko no Mikoto's curse began.
僕が1000年の呪いを終わらせる。
I'll put an end to this curse.
それが使命のような気がするんです。
Feel like that's my duty.
ススハラ流親善武術。ひょっとしたら本当にそのために存在するのかもしれないわね。
Perhaps the Suzahara divine tribute style truly exists for that purpose. Hinagata was currently deciphering the ancient writing she borrowed from Mr. Suzahara. Tsubakiko's family, the Harumiyas, were related to the Suzaharas and had lived in Susada for generations. So there was a high probability the Suzahara's ancestors had a connection to this land. Every New Year's, it was tradition to punch a temple bell with the Suzahara divine tribute style, and the Shintai house in Iwaimoto Shrine was the temple bell. It all lined up with the legend of Rokugami Hiko no Mikoto's curse.
私は確信しているわ。
I'm sure of it now.
ススハラ君のご先祖様はこの地に住んでいたのよ。
One of your ancestors once lived in this land.
そして六神彦の命の呪いを解くために親善武術を生み出したんだわ。
And they created the divine tribute style in order to break the curse of Rokugami Hiko no Mikoto.
僕の家の名字がススハラ。
My family name is Suzahara. Drive the soot away.
え、やっぱりその名前は偶然じゃないのよ。
Yes, that name is clearly no coincidence.
あなたは六神彦の命の呪いのすすを払うことを使命とした一族の
You are the
末裔なの
descendant
よ。
of a clan who made it their duty to drive away the cursed soot of Rokugami Hiko no Mikoto. Jesus, I'm trying to say this name. Suzuma gripped his fist tightly with newfound purpose and resolve.
この学校に生贄の末裔がすべて揃い、すすを払うことを名に持つあなたが転校してきた。
All the descendants of the sacrifice are in the school, and you, who bears the name, drive away the soot, transferred here as well. What a
平安時代頃より始まった
so
呪いが
convenient.
今がおそらく1000年目。
It has probably been exactly 1,000 years since the curse began.
その1000年目にこれだけの偶然が揃う。
All of these events have lined up this year. Oh my gosh.
運命だと思います。
I think it must be fate.
同感よ。
I agree.
そして1000年目を迎
The
え、
game has to end
ソエ
somehow.
ちゃんの体に封じられたすすももはや限界。
And the soot sealed in Toei's body is already at its limit after those 1,000 years.
呪いのすすが放たれ、この地に恐ろしい災いが降りかかるのか。
Will the cursed soot be released, unleashing a terrifying calamity on this land?
それとも
Or
僕がこの呪いを終わらせます。
I will put an end to this curse.
まだ未熟で、その力はないけれど、
I may not have much experience, and I don't have the power I need just yet,
必ずそれを身につけてみせます。
but I swear I'll learn it. Suzumu had borrowed the Suzahara Divine Tribute Style's Book of Secrets from his father. For the first time in his life, Suzumu was aiming high not because of his training told him to, but because he wanted to. Once he saw that, his father had realized Suzumu's Divine Tribute Style has entered the final stage towards completion. His training would become even more special from this day onward, because he is a special boy. Suzumu would learn the heart of the secret text and perfect his technique.
もちろん、ススハラ君に全てを任せて高みの見物なんてつもりはないわ。
I don't plan to just sit back and let you take care of everything, of course.
私も呪いのすすについて様々な古文書から研究を続けてるわ。
I'll keep looking into old writings and continue my research into the cursed soot. It wasn't like the infirmary was always busy. Hinagata would continue deciphering the ancient writings during the slow hours. Perhaps she'd find a clue to destroying the soot in them.
これは仮説だけれど、フラッシュバックという心理現象を知ってる？
This is just a hypothesis, but are you aware of the psychological phenomenon known as flashbacks?
フラッシュバック。
Flashback? No. What are they?
トラウマ体験が突然鮮明に蘇る現象よ。
It's when you suddenly remember traumatic experiences as clear as day.
そのメカニズムはまだ完全には解明されていないけれど、霊障だと仮定すると説明がつきやすいの。
Though the net mechanisms behind them haven't been fully clarified, they're easy to explain if you assume they're hauntings.
トラウマ体験、すなわち心的外傷は心の霊的な防御をすべて貫通していたった傷と考えてみたの。
Let's think of the traumatic experiences, in other words, psychological scars, as wounds that completely penetrate the mind's spiritual defenses.
トラウマ体験そのものが霊障だとしたなら、それはつまり霊の攻撃が心に至り残り続けているということ。
If that traumatic experience itself was a haunting, then it would mean the spirit had reached the victim's mind and remained there.
人の心に霊の悪意が突き刺さったままになっているということですか？
You're saying the malice of those spirits remain embedded in people's minds?
そういうこと。そしてそれが可能してフラッシュバックという霊障を起こし、犠牲者を苛み続ける。
Exactly. That they fester. Oh, there they fester, causing the hauntings we know as flashbacks that continue tormenting the victim.
何が言いたいかというと、人の心は霊的存在の規制対象なんじゃないかってことなの。
What I'm getting at is the mind can very well be a target for spiritual parasites.
もちろん仮説に仮説を重ねた先生の空想なんだけれども。
Of course, these may all just be wild illusions of a teacher obsessed with these kinds of hypotheses.
呪いのすすもまた霊的な存在ならば、それはおそらく心に寄生していると思うの。
And if the cursed soot is also a spiritual entity, then I believe it parasitizes the mind.
そしてそれは霊的防御を貫通していたった心的外傷に根ざしている。
And that it has its roots in emotional trauma that penetrated spiritual defenses.
心の傷と呪いのすすに関係があるということですか？
Does that mean there's a connection between mental trauma and the cursed soot?
心の傷は一般的には時間が癒すと言われてる。それは加齢で霊的防御が上昇するのと一致するわ。
Most people say mental trauma heals with time. That lines up with how spiritual defenses strengthen with age.
私は自分の体験も重ねて考えてみて、
And when I consider my own experience,
呪いのすすは人の心の傷の中に住み着いていると考えているの。
I believe the cursed soot settles in people's emotional trauma.
つまりカウンセリングによる悩み相談とかでアプローチする方法もあるかもねってことなの。
In other words, getting therapy or something may very well be another valid approach. Suzumu would aim to drive away the curse soot through the divine tribute style he trained in. Meanwhile, Hinagata would aim to heal the roots of the curse soot by using psychotherapy.
まるでススハラ君が西洋医学で私が漢方医学ね。
It's like you're a doctor of Western medicine, while I'm a doctor of traditional medicine.
僕は呪いを直接叩き、先生が根底から治す。
I'll fight the curse physically, and you'll heal it from its roots.
そう。挟み撃ちね。
Exactly. A pincer attack. Whacha! Suzumu and Hinagata would surround the curse from both fronts. They swore to fight back against it for the first time in history.
じゃあみんな着席してね。
Okay, kids, take your seats.
次の日曜日には清掃活動を行います。
We'll be doing some cleanup work next Sunday.
おいさっさおいらはやっぱお掃除が一番心が落ち着くね。
Roger that. I feel at my calmest when I'm cleaning.
リリアちゃんは来られるの？やっぱりお仕事？
Can you make it too, Miria? I don't know if I can do her voice. I'm gonna try my best. Can you make it too, Miria? Or do you have too much work?
学業も部活も両立できてこそ女子高生アイドルだと思いますので。
I wouldn't be a high school idol if I couldn't balance school life and work.
トイちゃんも体調が良かったらぜひ来てね。
Come along if you're feeling well enough, okay, Toei? Ugh. It's me right now.
へへ、俺様のグレートなほうき技が見せられそうだぜ。
Heh, I'll show you all my great broom skills.
ススハラ、
Suzuhara?
ごめん、
Oh,
ぼんやりしてた。
sorry, I zoned out. On the outside, the SC looked harmonious, but all of them were suffering. And it wasn't just them. Many others had suffered in 1,000 years it's taken to reach this point. I swore I'd put an end to it. I'd bring back their smiles. Every last one of them, even you, Suzuhara. I mean, I forget your name. I get whoever you are. The great guy. The Book of Secrets I borrowed from my father didn't have anything so awe-inspiring inside like one might expect from the name. It was just everything he had taught to me since I was a child. But the basics of the basics were likely secrets in and of themselves.
親善武術は武術なれど戦う術にあらず。
Though it is a form of martial arts, the divine tribute style is not for fighting. And its fist was not for violence.
カイスは金を割った。だから拳を強く固く鍛えるのが目標と誤解しやすい。
The founder broke a bell, therefore it is common misconception that training one's fist to be powerful is the goal.
違う。金
I
が
wonder
割
what
れた
this
のは
is. This is
結
all
果であっ
kanji.
て目的じゃない。
That's wrong. The breaking the bell was the result, not the goal.
カイソは金を割るために撃ったんじゃないんだ。神に報じるために撃った。
The founder didn't punch to break the bell, he punched to dedicate his fist to God. And what did that mean in its core sense? Did it refer to the ancient definition where people would present their yields to their gods as thanks for their blessings?
親善武術は怒りで撃つんじゃない。初歩の初歩だ。
The divine tribute style is not to be used in anger. Those fundamentals are key to understanding it.
僕は今まで無心で撃つものだと思ってきた。
I thought that meant punching with a clear mind up until now. But that was part of the process, not the destination. I would advance to a new stage from now on.
覇者検証。邪悪を破りて正しきを示す。
Haja Kensho. Crush evil and demonstrate the righteous path.
そしてそれがなされることを神に感謝しよう。
And in doing so, offer your thanks to God. Dedicate the fist, offer thanks, and dedicate. It was strange. Up until now, I felt heat in my fist. But something was different this time. I felt heat in the core of my body, like there was a tree growing from my stomach. Sorry. I knew then I'd taken my first step into a new realm.
ススハラ流親善武術。ススハラスズム。
I am Suzumu Suzahara, petitioner of the Suzahara divine tribute style.
いざ
Now. Whoa. Bunch. Those working in the shrine's offices bowed when they noticed Toei returning from school. Toei returned their bows this time, but she clearly wasn't feeling well. She ever? Honestly? She hadn't had any hauntings when she was in the LCSC clubroom with Suzumu. But once he left, they immediately came back with a vengeance. Toei gripped her abdomen and looked down for a while. It hurt from time to time, like there was a dry riverbed in her stomach with giant boulders rolling around. The pains had been coming without notice these days, and they grew worse each successive time. Toei knew from the ancient writings what those pains signified.
もう限界なのか。
I'm already at my limit. The sacrifice who'd been subjected to the quintuplet spell had also complained about a pain, like a giant boulder rolling in her stomach. The pain likely indicated the soot inside her had hit its limit. But the quintuplet spell had been lost. All she could do was endure the pain, hold off the curse for as long as possible, and have a child as soon as she could. 'It hurts.
お嬢さん大丈夫ですかしっかり
Are you alright, Toei? Hang in there. Go.
誰か手をお嬢さんがまた体調を崩された
Someone help. Toei collapsed again. You better hurry up. Start punching.
大山の鹿さんちょっと来ておくれ
Over here. Mountain deer, mountain deer.
鬼がいるから行かれない
I cannot, for there are demons there.
お釜をかぶってちょっと来ておくれ
Make a helmet from a pot, mountain deer, mountain deer.
角があるからかぶれない
I cannot, for my antlers I fear.
お布団かぶってちょっと来ておくれ
Make cover with your covers, mountain deer, mountain deer.
すすって真っ黒かぶれない
I cannot, for I'm sooty I fear.
あの子が欲しい
I want that child.
あの子じゃわからん
Whatever child do you mean?
相談しましょう
Let us have a chat.
そうしましょう
Yeah, let us. Song. Three human-like figures with antlers danced in the doll ritual tool shed, which was naturally packed to the gills with dolls. Then they came to a sudden stop and quietly sat down.
はてさて相談とは何か姉上様
What do you wish to discuss, sister? Another human-like figure with antlers appeared in the center of them.
我のすすは十分にたまり、いよいよ木を迎えたり。
I have gathered enough soot. The time has finally.
おめでとうございます姉上様
Congratulations, sister.
おめでとうございます人鬼どもにこの世の地獄を
Congratulations. The man-demon shall face the hellfire they've so long deserved.
なれど、これしきでは足りぬ。
However, this is hardly sufficient.
と申されますと
What do you mean?
我ほどに蓄えしすすをもってしても、
The amount of soot I've gathered.
兄上様たちのご無念を晴らすにはまるで足りぬ。
Is hardly enough to bring sibling souls peace. A silence descended upon the room. 1,000 years is hardly a short time to gather enough soot to lay vengeance on the humans, even for them. It would have been agonizing to wait longer to exact their revenge, even for the manifestations of the curse.
姉上様一人ではありませぬ我らが後に続きまする
You are not alone, sister. We shall finish what you started.
我ら4人で
夜旅の災いが起こせまする。
With the four of us, we can bring about 4 calamities.
それでは手ぬるい。
That would be far too lenient.
では姉上様のお考えは？
Then what do you propose, sister?
我らのすすを一つに集めたい。
I wish to combine our soot as one.
ささやかな災いを夜旅起こしたところでたかが知れたこと。
Causing 4 meager calamities would amount to little.
人にどもの嘆きを天を越えて轟かせるには、
If we were to make the man demon's lamentation roar through the heaven,
我らのすすをすべて集め、この上なき災いをもたらすより他はない。
we have no choice but to combine our soot and bring about a calamity beyond all precedent.
お気持ちはわかりまするが、災いの日を待つのは我らも日が。
Your lament is mine, sister, but we also eagerly awaited our day of wrath.
我らもまたその日を夢見て流らえてきたのでございまする。
For ages we have dreamed of the day our vengeance would come to fruition.
我らのすす、そうそうは手放せませぬ。
We cannot part with our soot so readily.
なれど我らの目的は人鬼たちを注し、兄上様たちのご無念をわずかでもお慰めすること。
However, our objective is to observe the man demon's agony and assuage our siblings' tormented souls as much as possible.
姉上様の仰せになることが最もその目的にかなうのであれば、
If our sister's ambitions will serve that purpose,
我は悲願の日を姉上様に託すこともやぶさかではありませぬ。
then I see no reason not to entrust our revenge to her.
それで良いのですか、姉上様。
Is that what you truly wish, sister?
我らは神の呪い、神を慰めるための存在。
We are the divine curse. We exist to soothe the god's pain.
決して我らが報いを求めてはなりませぬ。
We shall seek no reward.
そなたは同意できるか？
Are you in accord as well?
夜旅の災いよりもすべてをすすだきし災いの方が兄上様をお慰めできるのならば。
If a calamity of the union of our soot may ease our brother's soul greater than 4 calamities,
我も同意いたしまするが、
then I too
条
would
件が
accord
一つ。
under one condition.
聞こうぞ。
Name it.
すべてをすすだきて災いを起こすというならば、あれのすすは無視できません。
If we are to gather our soot together for maximum devastation, then we cannot ignore the soot lying within him.
陸奥の末裔、鈴原鈴夢のすすか。
We refer to the soot of Mutsu's descendant, Suzumu Suzahara, yes.
さようです。陸奥の末裔。あれのすすは強く、濃く、この上なく多い。
Indeed, the soot of Mutsu's descendant is stronger, thicker, and greater than any other.
すべてをすすだきし、この上なき災いと仰せられるならば、あれは決して無視できませぬぞ。
If our desires to gather all the soot to bring about unparalleled calamity, then by no means can we disregard it.
あれほどすすが多いものは実に久しい。
It has truly been ages since I've seen one with such soot.
見逃すにはあまりに惜しい。
It would be quite a shame to let it go.
無論すすが多いに越したことはない。
The more soot, the better, of course.
鈴夢のすす、見逃す手はありますまい。
We would be fools to overlook it.
さようです。 なれば姉上様。
Indeed, thus I wish to ask of you a boon, sister.
我らすべてのすすを集め、災いを起こす役目。
What say you to the proposition that the one who obtained Suzumu's Susahara soot
すすはらすずむのすすを得たものということにされてはいかがか。
shall be the one to gather all of our soot and bring forth the calamity?
いかがなさいますかな、姉上様。
What say you, sister?
我らは神の呪い。誰がそれを振るう役目になったとて、悲願の達成に変わりはありませぬ。
We are the divine curse, regardless of who takes that soul. Our ambition shall be fulfilled all the same.
それならば、張り合いがあるというもの。
Then I suppose this would make this a competition.
公平な条件ならば、誰にすすだくことになろうとも、
As long as we
お
complete
恨みはい
fairly,
たしませぬ。
we shall have no cause to begrudge the winner, no matter who she may be.
いかがか、姉上様。
What say you, sister?
我に異議はなし。
I have no
姉上様よ。
objections.
いかに。
And you, sister?
よかろうぞ。
So be it.
すすはらすずむのすすを得た者に、我らのすべてをすすだく。
The one who the one who obtained Suzumu's Susahara soot shall gather all of our soot in turn.
ありがたや。
Many thanks.
面白きかな。久々に胸が高まりまする。
This is quite the surprise. Long has it been since my heart beat with such zeal.
だが、ご油断召されるな。
But do not let your guard down.
我らが何を恐れると。
What do we have? What have we to fear?
すすはらすずむに油断召されるな。
Do not let your guard down around Suzumu Susahara.
あれはもう目覚めている。
He is already awakened. Oh. Okay, and this is where we stop. So, I try not to spoil myself, but I kind of like say how much, I look to see how much more I have left. Now, this next part, I'm not really, I would like it, So each next arc is a certain girl. We're going to go through each girl. Now, I don't know how long the parts are. I would like to make, like, one video for each girl. But if it goes on, like, too long, then I might make it smaller parts. I really don't know, because I don't want to spoil myself too much. So, next time, we'll conquer each girl. Sounds good to me.